Yo, what's poppin'? I'm here with the APAC, the final two games of the APAC kickoff clash, the East region. There was some bangers here. There was a pretty poor performance from another team. But starting off, give this video a like, give it a subscribe, maybe give it a comment. If you have anything I say you disagree with, or you wanna fight me on, or you wanna agree or have any opinion. Um, and yeah, it mean a lot. So now the Seoul Dynasty to Shanghai Dragons. Seoul losing to Shanghai in the first round and then beating Spark pretty easily in the lower bracket. They faced the Shanghai Dragons, who beat Seoul and then lost to Philly 3-0 quite badly. Ended up being a 3-2 victory for Seoul, and this was probably the best match of the season. Like across both regions, this was very high stakes, right? And the teams really showed up for it. And you could see they were really invested at the end of this. Profit, he was crying, bro. It was really emotionally charged for both teams, or at least for Seoul, who have been looking for this for so long. So Oasis is a 2-1 for Seoul. They're playing Profit, Fit, Smurf, Creative, and Vindame. That doesn't change ever. Shanghai playing Lip, Who Are You, Fate, Lee Jae-gon, Izayaki, which does change. His Who Are You and Fate switch out a little bit sometimes, but not this map. Gardens is 199 for Seoul. They're playing Genji, Soldier, Winston, Ana, Lucio. Shanghai's playing Soldier, Genji, Winston, Lucio, Ana. Um, I'm just gonna do these maybe. Just read my summaries of the maps, and maybe if anyone wants to look at my notes, they're here and you can see them. But I'm just gonna read down here. I'm gonna try doing that, make the videos a little quicker, maybe more enjoyable. So, Fate is a lot of the times in these two matches in City Center and Gardens, right? You can see the comps, you can see the scores, but he's going too deep and he's just rolling over and dying. It's been a pretty like Shanghai has had to come back in a lot of fights, having being down a tank, and that's really hard. And it's not really a consistent way to play the game. Like he's getting cooldowns out, I guess, but it's not great. And that's what it comes down to on this map. That's how Seoul edged him out on Gardens, and on University it was not even close, right? Uh, it really wasn't, and it was just because Fate was just dying so much. Everyone else Shanghai was looking good. Lip was looking great this entire match, but Seoul was exposing that Fate was getting a little too ambitious, and it's been a consistent problem for Shanghai, and Seoul have dialed in on it. And also, I think that they're setting up Profit better than Shanghai setting up Who Are You in these Genji duels. Uh, yeah, the dives look a bit more coordinated, and Who Are You is more just loosely like going in because he doesn't have Fate with him as much. Uh, so okay, it's a lot more pressure on him to perform, whereas Profit still has the pressure, but he has more. It has more resources. He has more ability to pop off. Okay, so looking at Kings Row, 3-2 victory for Shanghai. Fleta comes in for Who Are You, and Void comes in for Fate. Both teams doing the Zarya mirror. So Shanghai opting for the Reaper Soldier, and Seoul playing the Genji. Not a big surprise, but overall, Shanghai had a much better B defense. Because on Seoul's offense, they roll through A, get the B with 450. They get through B with 145 and to see it really looked like Shanghai should have held them. They had the ability to, but Seoul acted first in that last final fight, and Shanghai just kind of took a back seat. They still used ults until committed, but Seoul's ults were much better used, had more value. Because like Void counter grabs when he's in the grab, but that's obviously not going to do anything. Counter grabbing has not been a thing for years, bro. Like it's just so bad, especially in this game. I feel like it's not good. Uh, but yeah, and then eventually they get held on the second corner. But Seoul don't even need that. They end up winning 3-2, right? They don't change. Well, maybe they do need that, but they did need that, I guess. But yeah, I thought that Shanghai could have held even earlier, and they probably should have. Fleta didn't even use Blossom this entire defense. I don't know why. He just didn't use Blossom at all. They didn't play for it. He's like using it as a threat. Flood has been doing this a lot actually. He's just not using Blossom and maybe using it more as a threat, but it's kind of a weak threat. On Shanghai's offense, no changes in composition, right? But Seoul make it, or Shanghai get 2 ticks, right? And then they lose the fight. But the next fight, they come in and they cap out, and that makes Seoul not be able to hold up to Archway, the arch, like entering B. So it's kind of good if you take 2 takes and you don't win, because it stops Seoul from having a good B defense, like a really strong one in that choke. And with that, it was only like one fight. They had 4 minutes going to B. The only one fight they had 4 minutes going to C. B basically didn't even exist. And Shanghai ended up winning out with like over 2 minutes or something. And in the end, it was how good that B defense was the difference maker. Because they get held on C for a bit, for like the same amount of time. But like both teams held there for like 2 minutes. But because Shanghai had that much better B defense, they win. And it basically came from the offense. So actually losing a fight on the first point kind of helped them. And on their offense, Shanghai was always taking initiative. The one time they got through on the defense, they didn't, not making that same mistake again on the offense. What they have the alt usage, sometimes they will hit a big flank into Metro on B, and as he did that, Fleta hit a Blossom or something. So there's 2 different threats on 2 different sides. You have to pick one, divide the attention. It was really good play from Shanghai right there. And it's to be expected. But another thing to be expected is that Void diffed Smurf on this area. Smurf wasn't a liability, but compared to Void, Void was just doing everything that much a little bit better. That it really helped Shanghai win this map and close out. Watch Bunch of Brawl is a 2-1 victory for Seoul. And it's not, and neither team into the 3rd point, but it's not because they were bad. Kind of asterisk. But both teams were pretty good on their defense, I would say. And Huyu comes back in for Fleta, and Fake comes back in for Void, because of course they did. They play Monkey now. And both teams mirroring the Genji, Widow, Winston on a Brig. Shanghai, on their offense, they basically make it through off of Lip, being really annoying, because he switches off of Widow. Right? He says, nah, I'm not playing the Widow here. And he goes Tracer. And he's so annoying in that backline. Like, he finds his way into B, and he just sits there. That Smurf eventually goes back for them, but as Smurf goes back, Shanghai can walk up and take a bunch more space, so they can set up their dive better, and they end up winning the fight. And they end up getting like 22 seconds into B. Or 2 minutes 20 into B. Shanghai kind of pushed the cart for free under the bridge, but in the end, Prophet and Soul just do that classic hold on Watch Puncher Belter B and stops Shanghai from winning, really. So moving on to Soul's offense. Both teams running against you with a Winston on a Brig. And Shanghai, they're looking really good on the defense. Lip is going crazy. He's picking Prophet so much. Fitz had 70% ult charge after a minute 20 left on the round. And it was looking really good for Shanghai, but then they get 5 ults and they don't play active with them, and they still sit back. And Soul just nano blade, right? And they killed 3, and then they're entering B with 307 now. And for if Shanghai just play actively, it's happening. Just every now and then there's a fight where they just don't play, they just don't take aggro, and they lose. And they have 5 ults. Just play aggro. You have the ults. Soul had ults too, of course, but if you let the team with the 5 ults play aggressive, that team will just win, bro. I don't know. They honestly probably could have won this map, and it would have brought them to the finals, right? Well, eventually, because Seoul needed this map to win, but in the end, they don't. And then Seoul just kind of get it to the under the bridge where they need to get it pretty fast. Smurf Primal gets 1, and Nano Prophet Blade gets the rest of them. It doesn't matter that Smurf even died. Oh, it was like two separate dives actually. It was like Smurf did a primal and he went in and he did stuff and then he died and then Prophet went in with a nano. So it was two separate dives that one like gave resources and took out Izayaki and then Prophet just cleaned up. But Seoul, you could argue Shanghai should have had this and maybe they do most of the time, but for some reason 5 ults not playing actively really cost them dearly. On to New Queen Street, which was a very this says Shanghai. Do not get it twisted. This was a Seoul, wasn't it? Oh no, it was Shanghai. I'm stupid. Hold on, sorry. This is 2-2 at this point. They won 2 or oh no, okay. I'm crazy. Anyway, it was very close. This was a um, crazy close map, and it was very enjoyable to watch. Even though it's push, oh whatever, but this was great because Flood came in for Huyu, Void came in for Fate. So we have Seoul playing the Winston, Shanghai playing the Zarya, and Shanghai was just rolling the first half. They're straight up dominating. But as soon as at 4 minutes, um, it switches, and after that half, it is in the Shanghai side the entire time, pretty much. So they get it. They get it to 57.78, which is a little bit past the checkpoint, just a little bit. And after that, Seoul put on the Jets, and there was really close. And the only one, the real one that matters here is the final fight. It looked like Seoul was gonna pill ahead. Liv stops it. Like he like 30 seconds left. It looked like Seoul was going to take the lead, but Liv barely gets to the point, and then Fleta blossoms creative, and then Prophet gets to like 3, but he dies to his own pulse because Lip blinked into him when he stuck it on him. And then Smurf is doing crazy stuff with Primal. Void almost kills Smurf and Grab, but then he gets nanoed. And then Smurf almost gets Void, but the Void gets nanoed. And then Lip comes back on Tracer and gets a 2k, and Shanghai win. It was the most back. It was Seoul winning, Shanghai winning, Seoul winning, Shanghai winning, and it's just clutch on clutch on clutch on clutch. If Lip doesn't hit that play to kill Prophet with his own pulse bomb, I think Seoul just win. But you can say that. So we can say that about every play. Oh, if so and so just does this, they win. But that was a pretty key moment, and it was the perfect fight to symbolize how these two teams play each other. Just clutch and clutch back and forth. It was super hype. That was probably my favorite New Queen Street. And now Ilios, which is a 2-1 victory for Seoul. And this, if the last map was crazy, this map was crazy, bro. Fleta stays in with Void, so we don't get the Winston. On Well, it's a 170 for Shanghai. Both teams playing the Zarya, both teams playing the Reaper Soldier. It was Shanghai all the way, and then Seoul flipped the point at 95, and it looked like Seoul can maybe take it. But Smurf has a Grav, and he gets nanoed, and he's getting pressured, and I think his inexperience kind of showed a little bit because he just has to pick something to grab. He just has to, but he doesn't. And he grabs, but it's far too late. He ends up dying. Shanghai get on top, and they win. But it was very close. Lip played well, of course. Fleta was playing well, but Smurf really came into his own on the Zarya, and then it was just too late. That split-second decision he was a little late on. Couldn't quite figure out what he wanted to do. I think with his nano boost, he didn't know if he wanted to grab Fleta. He didn't know if he wanted to grab Void. He couldn't make a decision. And with more hours on Zarya, a more experienced Zarya player makes that decision. He just didn't. It's okay. He's supposed to lose these. He's supposed to lose the Zaryas, right? On Lighthouse, it's 100-99 for Seoul, and now both teams are on Diva, and Smurf is supposed to lose these too. Void, one of the best divas in the world, right? But this was the Prophet on this Lighthouse specifically was lights out. He was so good. It was crazy. He's having a pulse every fight. He's basically doing it all because he's not really diving with Smurf, and Diva doesn't really act like that. Diva's just like there to contest the high ground a little bit to help his DPS when they need a little bit, but he's not really hard diving. But yeah, Prophet getting a pulse almost every fight, winning off his sticks one time, maybe 2 times, probably 3 times, and that's all you need to win, really. So I would say Profit put backpack Soul on this map. Smurf, I noted about his diva. He was getting stickied by Floodon Echo like every time. Just always had no DM. I feel like it was not ideal, but it does not matter because Profit. There's a time the final fight 99.99. Flag copies and he kills two, and Lip is killing two, and then Profit finds two with a sticky because Smurf bomb forced them out onto the point, and they grouped up, so he hits that, and then Profit kills like everyone else. It was an absolute ledge performance by Profit. And on Ruins, Soul come out on the Rhine against Azaria, and it's not even close. 100-0. Shanghai are just dusted. It was not a close one. Um, there's the rest of this, but yeah, it was. Profit is just the best here, and he was not losing. He was not losing this, and it kind of felt like Soul had to win the next match too after this performance of Profit. Um, it was crazy. Uh, so time to play the match. It's got to go to Profit all day. Legit the best performance out of everyone this season. Absolutely dominating fights. He had no business dominating. A pulse every fight on Lighthouse. They have to reverse sweep this Ilios, by the way. They're down a map. For sure. Shanghai win their Zarya matches, their Zarya maps, which is kind of what you expect. But if they find one anywhere else, they do win this match. And Watch Punch Gibraltar looked very probable at some points. So, very close match. Could have won either way. But in the end, Soul came out on top, and they did look better because Profit kicked it into a next gear, head and shoulders above the next best player in the lobby, I think. Okay, so that's that. Moving on to Soul Dynasty and the Philly Fusion, which says 4-2 for Soul. That was my prediction. It was a 4-0. It wasn't even close, actually. This whole thing was just not close. This was the closest map. It was Lijiang Tower. So Soul playing Profit, Fit, Smurf, Creative, and Dame. These are your Kickoff class champions. They're starters. Philly playing Carpe, Zest, Belos, Ria, Fixa, and Aim God. Carpe, of course, will be subbed out for MN3 in the next map and returned in the final map. But Control Centers at 185 for Soul. It is kind of close. Soul roll it on the Rhine, but then they see that Philly's on the Doom. They say, "Nah, I'm not doing that." They go Zarya. Because of this, Philly does get the percentage, get the original percentage, like the first cap, which kind of matters, but not really. And yeah, Soul just trying to look better. On round one, there was some really odd decision making by Philly. Like in that last fight, Belisria dies with Primal and Fixa dies 5% off beat. And maybe the tide turns with those ultimates for sure, but they don't do it. And it's been a kind of the story for Philly as they either look really good or they make some pretty odd mistakes. And this is like an example of that. Belisria he swaps over to the Winston halfway through, but it's just not worth enough. And Philly are really struggling to kill Smurf at all and get him off the point whenever they're in control. So it just kind of a Soul difference. Philly's making more mistakes, and Soul are not making the mistakes. It's kind of that easy. That market's 130 for Soul, and it just gets worse from here, right? Soldiers look better, and they look more into it. You could say it's because they just warmed up. They're warm. They just had a 5-map banger, but even on the counter comp where Soul's on the Reinhardt, they're playing May Soldier Ryan on the Lucio. Philly's on the Doomfist. The Doom is not getting it done, and I think it's partially or maybe mostly because they make the adaptation to put creative onto Ana, so that whenever the Doomfist tries to punch or you see him do anything, he can get slept, he can get naded, and he can't do a lot. So I'd like to see more teams do this into the Rhine, as the Rhine into Doomfist. I think it's the right play for sure. Because what is BAP really doing here? BAP is good for Immo, but outside of Immo, Ana's probably the better pick, especially into Doomfist. So we might start to see a little bit of a. Let's start to see more teams do this because we haven't seen it as much. But yeah, Soul just looked better, and it doesn't get better. Eichenwald 3-2 Soul. M3 comes over Carpe. We'll say, oh, 3-2, that's not that bad. Yeah, but Soul finished with 3 minutes and 10 seconds, which is unrealistic. Smurf is playing out of his mind. Belos Ria is kind of struggling on this map. He's dying first often, but the biggest thing about Soul's offense, the biggest story here, is Philly just didn't push, like, just let Soul push the cart. They had ults. There was one point they legit had like 5 ults, and they just don't do anything. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. They have 5 ults, and Soul just pushed the cart for free to the bridge, all through the bottom of that road around the castle. If Philly had the ults to jump on them, I don't know. There's just not a lot to say. It was so weird. Anyway, recontest does come out because they die. They do die, and then they come out and they try to recontest. It's very messy. Smurf hits a primal. He gets aim god, and he juggles him out of Fix's beat. So it's not even on Fix at that point. It's just Smurf being the gods of tank play this entire series. And Philly lose 3 ults and then recontest. They do manage to get a fight around the first corner, but Soul don't care. They just win the next fight. And Belosria dies, and Fitzvisor was pretty uncontested this entire series. It was a fight win so often, like way more often than it should have been. Like you say, oh, Nanovisor is just a free fight win, but normally there's some sort of resistance. Maybe you have your own Nanovisor. Maybe you kite it. You can put your Winston in front of it. You put your Zarya in front of it. Do anything. It just wasn't happening. Fitz Nanovisor was a guaranteed win on every fight. And so was Smurf with Primal, honestly. It was kind of crazy. Anyway, Philly's offense comes out. They do make it to third, but at what cost? They get into B with 440, so the exact same thing as Soul. Fitz kind of died. He just got jumped on and died. Soul kited back, but when they come back, Zest pops off and he goes crazy. So Zest does have a good map, for sure. He's the only reason they get. Well, he's not the only reason they got through first because it was early, but like the fight was done. Aim God was dead. Philly had Soul had executed their dive, and Zest just turns the tide. He killed like 4 or 5, I would say. With that's all there is. It's just Zest gameplay, right? But yeah, they make it to C eventually with 135, and they get held on B for a long time. But I don't really know. I don't even really know. They just kind of got through by Zest again. He just kind of won. So Zest still proving he has that play, but that's not how you want to maybe win your all your fights is with one dude popping off. So Philly stops Soul, and on the last fight, both teams had 4 ults, but Fitz Nanovisor and Prophet just kind of win. So overall, this map, Soul just looks so much better. That's the only reason they win. Velocity is dying first a lot. Aim God is permadead, actually, like legit permadead from either Prophet or Smurf. Fixa was messing up a lot of his beats. He was late on beats a few times. And Philly's just making very odd decisions, like letting Soul push when they have all their ults. There's no reason to. Philly's just not acting first. They're just like scared. They're scared to make plays. It felt like they were terrified of it. But also looked great. But Smurf specifically had a really banging map. Watch Punch Gibraltar's a 3-1 for Soul. This one's not even close. Soul just win. They finished with 235, which is insane. They had 530 going to C. There's nothing to say here. There really is nothing to say. It's just them killing them. Like, fight back, Philly. Legit fight back. On Philly's offense, Uh Standard Gibraltar, really. No kills for a minute 30, but Seoul do take initiative and they do dive. The only reason that Philly win is that MN3 does a little bit of popping off. And that's what he did on their defense as well. Whenever if he gets Seoul from 530 to 235, he has a pop off fight, basically. And other than that, the other 2 minutes are just Seoul winning the fight, but he does have a pop off fight. And Zest also didn't have a final blow for the entire defense. On the offense, he does help them cap out first. But other than that, nothing. Seoul was doing the Gibraltar B. You're holding them. They can't get through the doors. Just give up. And that's what it was. So yeah, Seoul looking dominant. Philly asleep. And Smurf is looking super good again. His juggles were crazy. And he was popping off. So New Queen Street. I don't have the score here. I guess it was. Hold on. Let me refresh this page. What the thing was? It was 109 to 31 for the exact numbers. Seoul get it all the way to their spawn. Philly don't even get it like halfway to the checkpoint. It was so bad for Philly. They're playing Carpe. The Carpe comes back in. Both teams are playing the Winston Tracer Soldier on a Lucio stuff. But Seoul get this, and they don't give up. Their all rotation is crazy. They are letting Philly walk into them a little bit and just killing them. Smurf and Van Dame didn't have any deaths. I don't think Van Dame had a death in the end at all. Smurf had one. Fixa hadn't used the beat until the last fight. And there's just no fight back here. There just isn't. Every time Seoul did anything, it resulted in a fight win and a dominant fight win. So I'm spending too much time on these fights, but I can't really describe how immaculate the Philly failed. It looked like the Philly that lost their 3 games, that lost 3-0 to Seoul earlier in the season, that lost to Chengdu, like maybe even worse. Overall, very very sad showing from Philly. It looked like that team that was really bad, and the team that we were placing at the bottom of the standings that we said we're going to be up first. I said was going to be up first. They just didn't come to play, and I think there was a point where yeah, these guys are rookies, and it's good experience, and it's not a failure of a stage, right? They still came second place, even if it wasn't strong, and even if Shanghai was probably a better matchup today. But you have to take this as a win if you're a Philly Fusion fan. Just because you're giving your young players experience, you hopefully they don't mess up like this when it comes time to show up. And if they do, I don't know. You have to find something out. But the problem, but something else is that AimGod is not a young player, and he was playing really bad. I would honestly, this might sound harsh, but I would just pick up someone else from contenders. AimGod is not the one. He is not the truth. He just is not the truth. I'm kind of viewing them as a higher tier Washington Justice, where their lows are like mid. There's like a number 5, 6. Well, there's like an okay team in APAC on a bad day. Like they'll lose to Chengdu, they'll lose to Valiant. I would say probably if they get them on a bad day, but their highs can be the best. Like they've looked very strong. Maybe it's not this Seoul strong. Even if they played their best game, Seoul might have won this. But they're still good, and their consistency needs to improve somehow because we've seen it now. Half the games they look great, half the games they don't look great. They need to find something if they want to be a solid team in this league. They can win a tournament by being streaky. They just have to catch them on the right days, but just not there. Solos are just better. The deeper Soul went into the tournament, the better it was. Not just Profit. Smurf had a crazy match. He's going to be my player of the match too. I want to give it to Profit, but I can't. Smurf, his primals were crazy. He only having 1 death in 8 minutes is crazy. No matter how good your team's doing on your only tank, his primals were fight wins. They were just fight winning. It's like a grab. His primals was like a grab in terms of value every fight. It's incredibly hard to really justify how that's possible. But anyway, that's going to be it. Maybe I spent longer in this review than I should have, but it's a final, so whatever. Really good. Very hype finals. I would definitely recommend, if you're going to watch anything, I would watch back this Ilios between Seoul and Shanghai. Specifically Lighthouse. Spend, if you want to spend 5 minutes watching something, watch this Lighthouse. But that's going to be it for me. I will do a preview later, and I will do reviews of NA. And yeah, that's it. So, deuces, have a good one. Like, subscribe.